Affective memory, an acting technique where actors recall emotions of past experiences to re-experience them within the context of the scene. Loop searches for lunch. Loop and the fighter have a rather fraught conversation. Loop burns himself out. You wake up in a bit of a tangle of limbs. Apparently you'd rolled over in the night to face Stardust, arm over his waist and the other tucked under your head. Ew, you're drooling. Gross. You grimace, rubbing your eyes. Stardust is still dead asleep. You stay there a moment, listening to their breathing. You should tear his throat out. Ugh, okay, never mind, no peaceful mornings for you. Your wretched body is begging to be cared for anyway. Slowly, carefully, you untangle yourself from Stardust, successfully getting up without waking them. Success! Next, you locate his things, grabbing a change of clothes and heading to the bathroom to shower. The shower is nice. Hot water is nice. You haven't showered in so long. You're startled by how much grime gets washed off of you. You suppose you weren't paying attention, so you didn't see it against the lightless parts of your skin. Which are still there, by the way, and haven't changed, at least as far as you can tell. At any rate, you were wrestling Stardust on the ground the other day, so you suppose it makes sense that you're filthy. You think you used to not care much about your appearance, but now that you have it back, you definitely do. You make sure to care for your hair. You even condition it. When you get out and dry off, you take a moment to look at the star on your chest. In your chest? It's still there. You press a hand to it and feel it thrum. Anyways, you dry yourself off, get dressed, and brush out your hair. It's short, so it's done fairly quickly. You hum, playing with the ends of your hair a little. Soft. Satisfied, you leave the bathroom. Still asleep. You snort. Quietly, you step out into the halls, raising a hand up by your head, little finger and thumb extended. You hope this still works.
Researcher?
You ask. After a moment, she responds.
Loop,
She replies.
is something the matter?
You hum.
No, just could you watch Stardust for me while I get something to eat? I don't want them to wake up alone.
So you've said.
She comments. Then she sighs.
I can do that. Go eat. I'll be there.
Thank you.
With that, you hang up. You feel a little bad after doing that. You wonder if it cost more craft than you thought it did. Perhaps being a star gave you access to more craft or something. Whatever. You can think about this later. You're starving. Take 3 of going through the house. The kitchen is on the bottom floor, so you wander until you find the staircase down. Easy. Now you just need to find the kitchen. Much like the other floors, this one has been entirely rearranged. Every floor is bigger, too. You think you remember Mira saying something about only some parts of the building being accessible while the king was here. Moving on. You don't know where you're going, is the point. You wander around trying to make a mental map of the place. You've never been very good at that, though. The only reason you ever got so good at traversing the altered house was because it was practically burned into your retina. This place is unfamiliar to you, but not entirely. You bump into rooms you've seen before constantly. Here's the weapons room on the opposite side to where you remember it, the storage room beside it, which certainly isn't right. Well, that's not true. It's less that you only know this place wrong. You wonder why it changed while it was under the king's curse. Some strange side effect of timecraft or of wishcraft, maybe? It's interesting. Maybe you could ask the researcher about it if you decide you really care. She might have a good theory on it. Midway through your journey through the house, you hear it.
Loop.
A familiar voice calls. Your stomach sinks. No, absolutely not. You've been very good about avoiding alone time with him, save for that one time in the infirmary. He's the person you want to talk to the least out of everyone in the entire blinding world. You keep walking. You hear his footsteps closing in, and you sigh.
Loop.
The fighter says again. He's thoughtfully placed himself to your right so that you can see him. It's nice of him. You wish you would take the hint that you'd rather rip your own face off than talk to him.
Good morning.
You look at him, then straight ahead. You don't know what expression is on your face. You should fix that. You put on your smile, looking back up at him.
Morning.
You say cheerfully. He looks very put off and sweaty. Ah, that's not a great sign. You need to brush up on your acting skills if you're going to stick around. He smiles nervously at you, covering up his discomfort faster than you did a moment ago.
Where are you headed?
He asks.
Kitchen.
You answer.
Bodies need food, apparently.
They do.
He agrees.
You're going the wrong way, though.
You really want to put your fist through the wall,
Ah,
you say, stopping.
my sense of direction has never been the best.
You guided us through the house really well, though?
Oh, this blinding. You turn to stare intensely at him. Your answering grin is all teeth.
Why do you think that is, dear fighter?
You ask him, anger lying just under the surface of your tone.
Could there be any reason why I would know the stupid, blinding, cursed house so well?
Wisely, he doesn't answer, seeming very aware of how far he put his foot in his mouth just now. You huff, running a hand through your hair. You have to calm down. You told Stardust you wouldn't antagonize him. When you speak again, your voice is flat and low, but not nearly as audibly furious.
With enough repetition, one can remember anything. I had plenty of it. So yes, I knew my way through the house while it was altered. Of course I did.
He hesitates. You don't think he knows how to treat you. You don't know how you want him to treat you. Maybe he should just ignore you so that you can ignore him and everything will be fine,
I'm sorry.
he says.
That was a stupid thing to say.
It was.
You agree, crossing your arms over your chest.
I'll forgive you if you would kindly take me somewhere I can get something to eat.
It's a little weak as far as olive branches go, but you're trying. He smiles at you. You hate it.
Sure.
He agrees easily.
Right this way.
He starts walking and you fall into step behind him. You wish you didn't have to get led around like this. At least you're not doing so badly that you have to hold his hand. You think if he even tried to offer it, you'd rip his whole arm off.
Say, did you eat last night? After breakfast?
Did you? You think about it. No, probably not. You apparently lost about 3 hours and then went and got your hair cut, and then you went to sit in the infirmary, and then you went to bed. Your silence speaks volumes,
You should be careful about that.
the fighter says.
You'll get sick if you skip too many meals.
You wave him off, glaring at the floor.
I just wasn't thinking about it.
You reply simply, which is true. You haven't had to think about it in a long time, is all. Later in your own loops, you didn't really eat anything either. The last one was an exception. Your thoughts turn to static as you touch on that very forbidden topic. We don't think about that here. No, no. Bad.
Hey, Loop?
The fighter starts, and you sigh.
Did I do something? Sorry if I'm wrong, but you seem really upset with me. And if it's because of something I did, I'd really like to know so I can try and fix it.
You grit your teeth.
Yes. Classic fighter trying to fix everything. Can't you leave well enough alone?
He falters, smile falling. Yours doesn't.
This is not something you can help with.
Now it does, into something flat and angry.
So keep your nose out of it.
Then you bring it back, full force, eyes closed with that happy little upwards tilt. Your mask. You clasp your hands together, leaning forward just a little.
Okay?
He hesitates, and for a moment you think you've won this argument. Unfortunately for you, nothing is ever that easy, is it?
I don't think it is okay.
He says, concerned.
If you don't want to talk to me about it, that's all right. You don't have to. But we're going to be traveling together, so...
You know, stars, you know you're going to be traveling together. You know you're going to have to look at his stupid blinding face every day for the foreseeable future. And every single blinding time you look at him, you're just reminded of what Stardust has that you don't. He's a constant breathing reminder of what you lost because you were stupid and selfish and pathetic. If you hadn't just thrown in the towel as soon as you realized that killing the king wasn't the way out, if you'd been stronger, if... You don't want to hear it. You bare your teeth, turning on him. Your hand fists into the collar of his turtleneck, and you slam him back against the wall, free hand raised in a scissor sign. He freezes. You know you're strong enough to keep him there. He spent this whole time stagnant, unlike you, who went through the stupid blinding house time after time after time.
I don't want to talk about it.
You snarl, and you relish in the fear on his face. Good. He should be scared. You think he might hear some commotion nearby, but you don't care.
I don't want to talk to you.
You hiss.
Ever. I would avoid you completely if I could. I hate seeing your face.
He startles a little, and you don't know why, and you don't care. It smells like burnt sugar. He doesn't get it yet, you can tell. It hasn't clicked. He's confused.
I...
He starts, gaze flickering to your hand and back to your furious face.
Loop, I don't know why you're so upset. I won't know unless you tell me.
Fury sits like a weight in your chest, and it burns like ripping yourself open, like eating a star.
I think you can figure it out, smart jock.
You sneer. He didn't even get to hear that this loop. You don't care. He can stay confused.
If you use your brain. Think, fighter. I was Siffrin. I had a party.
You lean into his personal space, shaking with rage.
Where did they go?
You see it click into place in his head. His eyes widen, and then his expression just turns sad. You breathe heavily, shaking, still holding him pinned against the wall. You look at his stupid, blinding face, and you see light reflected in his eyes. Yours. Your breath catches, and your face falls. You let him go, and you step back, and you bring a hand up, and there's no hair there to run it through. You're a star again. You're trembling so badly you feel like you might just shake apart where you stand. Your face is wet and you're miserable and your ears are ringing. You shouldn't have said any of that to him and you shouldn't have threatened him. There's something wrong with you. He was trying to help. You can't breathe. You can't... Calloused hands take one of yours gently, pressing your palm to something solid and warm. You feel a heartbeat and a slow, steady rise and fall. In and out. Desperately, you latch onto the motion like a lifeline, struggling to match it. The ringing in your ears dies down slowly.
Say to them.
The housemaid's bewildered voice asks, "When did she get here?" You blink a few times, trying to clear your vision. Ah, it's her doing breathing exercises with you. She looks worried.
I didn't.
The fighter starts, then stops. I didn't say anything. They just blew up on me for no reason. And they threatened to hurt me.
I didn't mean to upset them.
He says instead, which surprises you. If you were him, you'd want yourself gone. You're dangerously unstable after all.
How did it get this bad?
She asks him, then she looks at you.
Are you with me, Loop?
You nod shakily.
You're okay.
She says gently, still holding your shaking hand.
Keep breathing.
You inhale sharply, breath hitching.
It wasn't
You say, wincing at how unsteady you sound.
his fault.
I ruin everything I touch. I just can't help it. Tee-hee. You feel sick. You look in the fighter's general direction, but don't dare look at him directly. You might try to hurt him again. You don't trust yourself.
Are you okay?
A bit bruised.
He replies with a wince, and you appreciate the honesty at least. The housemaid makes a confused, distressed noise. Gently, you pull your hand from the housemaid, stepping up to the fighter. You lift a hand. He flinches. You still. You stay frozen like that for a moment, then, silently, you tap his arm, letting your healing craft flow into him. Your vision goes lightless for a second, and when you come back, you're being held up, an arm under your back.
Ah,
You say intelligently. Your head is pounding.
Loop,
The housemaiden cries, terribly concerned.
you didn't have to do that. I could have done it.
Okay, well, that wasn't really the point, was it? It had to be you. You're the one who blinding hurt him. A gentle hand brushes against your forehead, pushing your hair back. Hair?
my back?
You ask, and the housemaiden tilts her head at you.
Back?
The fighter asks behind you.
Your not a star anymore, if that's what you mean.
You exhale deeply, slumping in his arms. You let out a strained, exhausted laugh. You're ridiculously relieved, actually. Part of your stupid brain was convinced that you'd screwed up and would be like that forever. The fighter makes a noise of alarm.
I'm fine. I'm fine.
You pause.
Actually, I think I might be starving.
Oh, change, right.
The fighter exclaims.
I'm so sorry, I forgot.
You laugh weakly.
Stars, why are you apologizing? None of you have any sense of self-preservation.
Well, I should have at least let you eat before I started harassing you.
You weren't harassing me.
He was just bringing up extremely valid concerns. Just because you weren't willing to hear them doesn't make them untrue.
Mira, can you go grab food? I think Loop would probably be more comfortable somewhere less public.
Stars, yes.
You hiss, gripping his sleeve, because you can feel people staring. That's probably what happened, isn't it? People saw what they thought was two of the saviors fighting and got the housemaiden. You're very glad none of them tried to intervene directly, because you might have killed them.
On it.
The housemaiden promises. They have a brief talk about where to take you, but you allow yourself to zone out through it because you feel awful.
Loop,
The fighter says, bringing you back.
can I'm sorry. Do you mind if I lift you? I wouldn't ask, but...
You can tell he feels extremely guilty, and you're not sure which part of this precisely is making him feel that way, because it's been pretty terrible all around for everyone involved. You breathe deeply and try not to think about it. This is sort of a necessity, you understand.
Go ahead.
You say against your better judgment. He nods, then carefully, like you're made of glass, lifts you up against his chest. Every place that the two of you make contact burns. You try not to think about it. He starts walking, and you just think about this whole situation and laugh.
I don't get you.
You say, and he looks down at you, brow furrowed.
How can you stand to be near me? Aren't you scared?
He frowns, looking ahead. You don't bring it up again in case he just doesn't want to talk about it, but after a few moments he speaks.
I was.
He admits.
A bit. I know you and Sif are a lot stronger than you look.
He says, and you snort because, yeah, you pinned him to a wall 10 minutes ago.
But I don't think... I think you're hurt and scared, and things are really hard for you. I can't imagine what you're feeling.
You turn your head away from him. That's the problem, isn't it? Nobody can imagine what you're feeling.
I don't think you want to hurt me, though.
He says.
If you wanted to, you would've, right? So, no, I'm not scared of you. That'd be like if I was scared of Sif.
You bark a startled laugh.
That's...
Sorry, that's not what I meant.
He gives you a very apologetic look.
I don't mean because... You know, I mean, you both kinda blow up when you get really upset. So, if I'm not scared of Sif after he emotionally thrashed me and turned 5 stories tall...
You snort.
Then I'm not going to be scared of you after you snapped at me and threatened me.
Well, you guess that makes sense as far as these people go. None of them ever really make sense to you, but, you know.
Okay.
You say finally. He smiles sadly at you.
I still want to talk to you about all this later, if you don't mind. But I won't push you this time.
Much appreciated.
You reply, feeling a bit like a wrung-out wet rag.
Is it always like this?
You ask, apropos of nothing. Unsurprisingly, he gives you a curious look, having no idea what you're on about.
Being, I don't know, around people. Grieving? Something like that.
It's a little easier to mention the G word now that he already knows.
Well, what's like this mean exactly?
You hum.
I keep just being miserable, and then I have these huge emotional blowouts, and then everything feels less bad for a while, and then it's right back to step one.
He looks at you, slightly perturbed.
You're not running a fever or anything, are you?
You tilt your head, perplexed.
What? I don't think so.
Okay, just checking, because you're saying kind of a lot right now, and I just wanted to make sure you aren't out of it. I wouldn't want to have you talking about this stuff if you didn't actually want to.
Oh, that's kind of sweet, you suppose.
No, I'm lucid.
You assure him.
Just tired and hungry.
Good. Good.
He says, going quiet for a moment.
I think maybe you'd have less emotional blowouts if you talked to someone about what you're feeling before it builds up to that point.
You groan, throwing an arm over your face.
Ugh, I hate feelings. Wish I could rip them out.
The fighter hums sympathetically.
It's like that sometimes.
He says.
Sadly, we can't, so all we can really do is work around them, and that means talking.
Ugh.
You repeat emphatically. You realize where you're headed.
Are we going to Stardust's room?
You ask.
Yes?
He pauses.
I guess you did seem kind of out of it when me and Mira were talking about it. Yeah, we thought it'd be our best bet, since being around Sif seems to help you relax and all.
You blink.
Does it?
The fighter raises his eyebrows at you.
Seems to?
He says again.
Do you think it doesn't?
You think about it. Yeah, you guess you are a little more comfortable when you can see Stardust. You choose not to respond because it's embarrassing to admit. Hang on. When did Stardust become Stardust? You started capital S-ing him in your head at some point. You're not sure why it matters to you, but it does. It just feels significant somehow is all. Well, you're about to have some other things to worry about regardless. You take the last bit of your journey to steel yourself. Time to talk some more, probably. Joy.